Science and technology in the northeastern region. This is a very vast topic, and today, what is northeastern region? In yesteryears, a major part used to be undivided Assam. So we have to really, go back and think about how science and technology started in undivided Assam and then many other states. The first undergraduate college in northeastern region was established in Guwahati in 1901. This is almost, I would say, at par with many other well-known institutes in the country. As you know, IISc Bangalore started in 1909. Indian Institute of Indian Association for Contribution of Science started, late 1800. So it is not too late in terms of starting undergraduate college. It became famous as Cotton College and earned respect among its peers. After a century of providing high quality education, the college is being transformed into a state university. Many of you know that its new name is Cotton College and State University. Nevertheless, the development of higher education in Assam and other states in the northeastern region was rather slow. Guwahati University was established in 1948. So, after the inception, Cotton College, for such a long period, for 48 years, it was under Calcutta University. Delhi used to be given by Calcutta University. And from 1948, it became the degree of Guwahati University. And Guwahati University started with 17 affiliated colleges. The number of affiliated colleges now under Guwahati University is 129. It has grown. The technical and professional education, even then, was at a very low pace, even in Assam. Now, inter-Indian academic scenario rapidly changed between early 80s and early 90s, because still, till 80s, private universities were very, very less. The only very well-known private university was from Birla Institute of Science and Technology. But other than that, it used to be primarily government. But from 1980s, private university started playing a massive role in the southern states. And the demand for higher education in professional and technical areas registered a sharp increase, and this led to enormous growth of privately funded institutions, especially some of the industrially very active and advanced states like Maharashtra, Delhi, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. These 5 states, the private funded institutes, engineering institute, grew, in a massive way. A small part of this growth also percolated in Northeast during this, but not in 80s and 90s, little after that, and during last 2 decades, a few private universities, technical and management colleges have come up in the state of Assam, and other states of northeastern India got really quite a few government funded institutes. These are, primarily in the form of Central University and the NITs, National Institute of Technology. I will give the detailed statistic later, but probably the major component of the thought is basically the regional imbalance. Engineering is a profession in which knowledge of mathematical and natural sciences gained by study, experience and practice is applied with judgment to develop ways to utilize the materials and forces of nature for the benefit of the mankind. Engineers create useful products and systems through playing with imagination and possibilities, of course based on scientific principles. In their professional activities, engineers are required to be constantly interactive with the people and society. This is revealed through the development of technologies pertaining to energy production, fight against terrorism, environmental protection, waste disposal, transportation, especially design of rapid transit system, which is now the feature of all metro cities. Unfortunately, the increased regional balance of educational facilities has affected the development of the entire north. The facilities of engineering education is so unevenly distributed in the country that 60% of the undergraduate seats and 50% of the postgraduate seats are available in only 3 of the 7 regions of the country, namely southern, southwestern, and the western part of India. Mind that it is about 50% of PG seats and 60% of PG seats. Further, nearly 50% of engineering graduates and postgraduates come from only 6 states. These are Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Andhra, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and West Bengal. This is, as I said, that 50% of the postgraduate student concentration. The above regional disparity would not get removed or even lessened if it is left entirely to the market force and to the private sector initiative. Since private sectors invest mostly in the states where the atmosphere is conducive and return on investment is there is an urgent need for state intervention or governmental intervention to reduce this growing disparity. Little backdated statistics, but it's almost established that till 2011, India had 2.5 science and technology personnel per 1,000 population. Per 1,000, 2.5 science and technology. I mean, vis-a-vis, if we discuss about other countries, South Korea 45.5, USA 55, USA and Canada almost same 55. Germany it is 76, Israel 76, Japan 110. So this is the global players, and we are at 2.5. If we desire to emerge as a developed industrialized nation, we have to expand access to professional education by many folds. Moreover, most of the engineering institutions, both in the public and private sectors, are facing enormous problems in satisfying international quality standards. The major problems in many northeastern states, Assam it is removed quite a bit in past 10 years, but even then it exists, and it exists in all other northeastern states. These are the following 4 major problems. General exodus of the students to other states in search of suitable courses and programs. As you know, a significant number of northeast kids go to Bangalore and Delhi. Better employment opportunities elsewhere after completion of the studies. This is natural. That people would like to go to those places where after the education, professional engagement should be absolutely essential. Socio-political influences, bonds, agitations, class boycotting, etc. These are, still prevalent in quite a few. And delay in conducting examination, publication of. Engineering education has a critical role to play in socio-economic sustainability of the states that are rich in natural resources. A proper and well-conceived educational system would be able to enrich the communities and society with wealth and strength. The planning and implementation of educational programs should aim at expansion, excellence, and employment. All three have to happen simultaneously: expansion, excellence, and employment. It may be noted that through
reservations and other mechanisms, equitable distributions in terms of quantity has been achieved throughout the country. But the quality improvement should be the ultimate. The most important aspects are the urgent need to adopt vocational training and align higher education to the needs and requirements of the market. There are discussions on bringing about the second green revolution in this region of the country, making Northeast the organic hub of the country. This is also a thought flagged up by the Honorable Prime Minister. However, to implement this, some low-risk policies and opening of region to foreign investments are to be prioritized. Adding on to the advantage of having the resources, sorry, this is, going back slightly to history, adding on to advantage of having the resources of their colonies throughout the world, it has been seen, to build up the economies of their own countries, the colonial powers legislated and followed policies that are commonly called one-way free trade. Except for Germany, all the developed countries today were involved in this game. Whether it is, United States is of course land of immigrants, but England, France, Italy, Spain, all these countries were involved in utilizing their colonies to make their economy absolutely one-way. As this is very well explained, he did a very thorough survey to Chinese writer Hazong Chan, and he explains that how China is doing it without having exploited their colonies. They don't have colonies. Once the country gets ahead of other countries, it has a natural incentive to use its economic and political powers to pull ahead even further. Along with the economic development of the Western world, they also develop institutions and practices, including the education system, that are considered to be standard yardsticks by which to judge the progress of the nation. What doesn't figure in this discourse is the processes of historical evolution of these institutions. For instance, throughout the Western world, often they position themselves as the champions of democracy and take other nations to task on their democratic track or their desire to protect the home industry. What is conveniently forgotten while doing this is that most of the developed nations in a comparative level of development hardly allowed free trade, nor did they have any democratic institutions at that time in place. An interesting side note about the condition of America. At the Second World War, at the end of Second World War, we get a very interesting statistics. When the war ended, United States had 26 billion worth of factories that hadn't existed before the war. Just imagine 26 billion worth of industry that those were not there before the war started. 140 billion in savings and war bonds just waiting to be spent, money to be invested. No bomb damage and practically no competition. All the superpowers were demolished. All that American companies had to do was to stop making tanks and battleships and start making cars, refrigerators, and washing machines. By 1951, almost 90% of the American families had refrigerators. Nearly 3/4 of the whole population had washing machines, telephone, vacuum cleaners, gas or electric. Americans owned 80% of the world's electrical goods in 1951 and controlled 2/3 of world's productive capacity. In other words, we may surmise that purpose of higher education be understood through two parameters. One is obviously the enhancement of personal knowledge and scholarship, but at the same time, attainment of personal knowledge and scholarship cannot be an end itself. This knowledge has to be used for the betterment of the society and more pertinently to help ameliorate some of the problems that it faces. Bertrand Russell, in his celebrated essays on education, has listed four characters which forms the basis of ideal character of an educated person. These are vitality, courage, sensitiveness, and intelligence. I don't have time to explain vitality. I can make few comments on courage. Courage is explained not as the absence of fear, but the ability of individual to deal with it both at the conscious and unconscious level. Termed as universal courage, it is defined as a combination of self-respect and impersonal outlook of life. Again, sensitiveness I am skipping. Going to intelligence, the fourth principle identified by Bertrand Russell is intelligence, by which he includes both knowledge and respectivity to knowledge. He surmises that it is education that must give us the virtues. Education is the key to the new world. In other words, the aspiration and goals that the world should aspire for developments, achievements, and aspirations of the industrialization. By extension, the education system of these countries were sought to be designed to cater to the specific need of attaining the development path. If it is in this backdrop, we will again come back to North case. We will see a number of pertinent issues would emerge. But before doing so, it may be fruitful to first have a bird's eye view of the whole region. The 8 states located in India's northeast cover an area of 2,62,179 square kilometers, constituting 7.9% of the country's total geographical area. But it has only 45.5 million people, or about 3.8% of the total population of the country. Over 68% of the population of entire Northeast lives in the state of Assam. The density of population varies from 13 per square kilometer in Arunachal Pradesh to 340 per square kilometer in Assam. The region has over 160 scheduled tribes and over 400 other tribal and sub-tribal communities and groups. It is predominantly rural, and over 84% of the population lives in countryside. The standard of living of the people in this region, as measured by the capita gross state domestic product (GSDP), is significantly behind the rest of the country. Now it is at 18,027. It is less than all state average, which is 25,968. So it's less than national average by 31%. Amazingly, this was not the case during the time of country's independence. At independence, the northeastern region was among the most prosperous regions in India. During the independence, the per capita income in the undivided state of Assam was higher than the national average by 4%. Even during 1950s and 1960s, this was maintained. Per capita income in Greater Assam was undivided Assam higher than the national average. But this trend started reversing from 1980s, early 1980s, and now it has a downward trend.
The region lags behind the rest of the country not only in terms of per capita GSDP, but in several other development indicators as well. People do not have adequate access to basic services. The standard development indicators such as road length, access to healthcare, power consumption, etc. if we consider, the region is quite below the national average in all the events, all the parameters. The region generates less than 8% of its 63,257 megawatt of hydroelectric power generation potential. Only 8% has been tapped. And its per capita power consumption is now 110 kilowatt hour, is almost a 1/4 of the national average, which is 411 kilowatt hour. An important measure of human development is the extent to which people's capability are enhanced to participate meaningfully in political and economical activities. Increases in capabilities increase freedoms over their life choices. People's capabilities are built and enhanced by expanding opportunities to access knowledge and improve their skills, and by providing them with a healthy environment in to exercise their livelihood choices. The educational infrastructure of the region is being improved. Almost every state has one or more central universities now, an IIT, an IIM, a number of NITs. All the states have one NIT each. Some specialized colleges in medicine, agriculture, science, and veterinary science. These have been done. However, a lot more has to be done. The Northeast has a lot of catching up to do to be at par with the rest of India. But what have been the achievements of the rest of the country? It is one of the largest economies in the world today and registering the fastest growth rate in last 20 years. According to Goldman Sachs report, among the BRICS nations, India will be the second largest economy in the world after China by 2043. At present, it is the 11th largest economy in the world by nominal GDP. For instance, the Indian economy recorded the most impressive growth rates in the history during 2003, between the period 2003 and 2008, averaging 8 to 9% per annum. I will cut short, few of the thoughts. Maybe in course of time, or in course of discussion, we will take it up. At present, Northeastern states, as I said, that established quite a few, new universities, quite a few NITs, and national institutes. IIM and IIT both are there. In combination, the Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, was founded in the year 1994 and has just completed 2 decades of its existence. In May 2014, this IIT was ranked 87 among 800 institutions across the world which were set up in the last 50 years by the prestigious London-based Time Higher Education Magazine. The state of Assam, obviously, there is a demand for the entire northeast part. Probably Assam is the most deserving place to have an ISER. It's a long-standing name. The ISER is the new chain of institute, Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research. It will not be incongruous to refer to a recent analysis based on psychometric studies which was published in Current Science this year, 2016. Volume 110, page 307 to 311. According to this report, as on 3rd May 2015, the report was composed by a group of experts. They found a total of 2,340 cutting-edge publications in typically topmost journals in respective fields from ISER system. 2,340 within a period of 5 years, with individual outputs being 275 for IISER Bhopal, 871 for IISER Calcutta, 516 for IISER Mohali, 673 for IISER Pune, and 223 for IISER Tirupati. This set contains some collaborative research output as well and as individual research effort and cutting edge discoveries. Entire Northeast requires to develop scientific temper. The scientific temper, growing the scientific temper, as I said, Cotton College has played a major role. Today, Gautam University and its affiliated college, Tirupati University affiliated colleges, and other central universities across 8 northeastern states, they are playing some role. But IISER has a very unique place in the country today. A transparent, liberal, flexible, seamless, multidisciplinary ecosystem must be created throughout the new IISER and through this new proposed IISER. So, what is being proposed to set up a new IISER in state of Assam for primarily focusing on 8 states in the northeast. This IISER should have one of the mandates to cater the needs of 8 northeastern states. The institute has to be built with a target to nurture transformative knowledge. So, again, I would like to cut short my thought process because other speakers will obviously flag up their issues. As I said, that plenty of things have been done, but even then it is not sufficient. Primarily, the requirement is to grow scientific temper. From entire Northeast, the exodus which we see, students come to Delhi, students come to Bangalore and many other places, are basically targeted, to the areas related to humanities and social sciences, which is definitely needed, which completes, humanities and social sciences folder, helps to complete the academic folder of higher education. But scientific temper is something which is needed for progress of the states towards, creating wealth, towards creating livelihood for the youth. And for that scientific temper, I would say that science institutes primarily, technological institutes have their niche, but science institutes have to play a major role to promulgate basically the scientific approach. I did not mention about CSIR and DST endeavor. CSIR has one major lab in the Northeast. It's called now Northeast Institute of Science and Technology, located in Gujarat, and ISST, Professor Talukar is heading that institute, DST Institute. So these 2 institutes also have to do plenty of handholding of the proposed, scientific institutes across the 8 states to really drag off and promote science, scientific thoughts in the Northeast. Thank you very much.